What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Boom! Sup, everybody? Welcome to my show. I not only saw one, not two, but three identical strangers very recently. And it was a very interesting documentary. I'd seen the trailer in front of some other movie that I watched and talked about recently at one of the theaters. I live in the Coachella Valley, so the Palm Desert Town Center Theater, which I formerly worked at and was employed at many, many years ago when I was a very young man straight out of high school. I was trained there before going to work at a different theater, and it always is a weird feeling going back there to watch movies, but they're one of the only movie theaters that shows a lot of independent movies and documentaries. So I do enjoy going there. I'm glad that that theater exists. I never had a bad time at any of the theaters I worked at, but it's kind of weird going back there and going to the mall that I used to go to as a child. But I went and saw this documentary because it looked amazing about this kid who goes to junior college, first year at junior college, and everybody around him knows who he is, except for they're using a different name. He runs into this guy who knows that he is a twin and knew his birth date, and then they find the second one. A newspaper does a story. Bam! Third one gets discovered. This is all in the trailer. This all happens like right out the gate in this documentary. And when it happened at the time, it was a big popular thing. News picked it up. They were on a bunch of like talk shows and stuff. And the documentary kind of follows that and highlights how similar they are in a lot of ways, and then you realize, okay, then it goes a little bit deeper. Then the question's asked, what happened? Why were these kids all split up? They were all adopted through the same adoption agency, and it goes into some crazy shit. So basically, it was like the 1950s. You got to go see this documentary, first off. I don't want to spoil it. I haven't really... where the documentary goes, it explores what was going on and why they were adopted. Maybe not. They're not the only ones out there. Maybe there were experiments going on. It's a very good documentary. If it's playing around you, go see it. Hopefully it goes on to like Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that after. Because it's a very interesting documentary. Because it goes into not only just how interesting the story is about these triplets, which it kind of follows them through, they tell their story from, discovering each other to modern day, where one of them is no longer here. I mean, you see that he is never featured in an interview. But it goes into the age-old question of nature versus nurture. Since these are all identical twins, they were basically part of an experiment where they specifically gave them to three different types of families. So there was, a affluent family, middle-class family, and then lower middle class, I would imagine, all Jewish families, but different parenting styles. So the experiment was nature versus nurture, doesn't matter. And, I don't want to, it's just really interesting. It's really interesting. the sad part is that because it was an experiment, like the findings were never released. So the documentary doesn't necessarily take a stance on anything, which is fine. I don't have a problem with. I enjoy it. It kind of lays everything out and makes you think about, but it's very good at kind of drawing you towards one outcome and then laying in but also, like, not only did they have all these things, but, where you grow up is going to change the type of person you are. If you grow up not being around a lot of people and being very on your own, secluded with, not having to be around a lot of people that are angry all the time, which you might get in a poorer family or poorer neighborhood, it's going to affect you in different ways. So even though you're genetically similar, which for me, it just makes sense. It makes sense because I think, when two people get together and they make a kid, the kid is a blend of those two people in a lot of ways, physical ways. So you would think personality-wise would also be, or just, internally, like mental, like it also goes into, mental issues and how parents that had kids who have the mental issues of the parents, is still a part of potentially who they are if given the right input, stimulus from its surroundings. I don't know. It's a fucking interesting documentary. Go see this documentary, 3 Identical Strangers. It's worth it. It's very interesting. And I love it. I recommend it. Inspired Reco all day. If you want to check out other stuff, follow me on social media. I'm at Ray Taylor on Twitter and on Instagram. Go to my website, inspireddisorder.com. You can buy all my artwork if you're watching this on Instagram, which you should be watching this on Instagram. All the artwork that you see that I release every day is available that same day on my website, inspireddisorder.com, which you can buy it. And if you want to see the making of videos for all of those, go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Links are up in the bio. Thank you all for watching. Have a great week. See you tomorrow. Peace out.